We have talked about a lot of games here, but today we're going to look at a unique series. While most games go for a family-friendly style, or at least an attempt at political correctness, back in 1981 there was a very adult game called Soft Porn Adventure, created by Chuck Benton. If you haven't heard of this game, it's not terribly surprising, though you have probably heard about the remake from 1987 called Leisure Suit Larry by Ollamh. I'm Ollamh, and welcome to Geek Trivia. As stated in the introduction to this video, Larry's adventures were based on a text adventure game, much like most of the Sierra games. But did you know that this was not Al's first programming and game design credit? In fact, his first projects for Sierra Entertainment were Winnie the Pooh in the 100-Acre Wood, Donald Duck's Playground, and The Black Cauldron. That's right, the man who went on to design one of the most famous adult series in history started off working on children's games. Now, when we first meet Larry, he is in the city of Lost Wages, though the location of the city is a bit confused. It sounds like it should be somewhere in Nevada. But most of the characters you seem to meet speak with an almost New York style of speech. We follow the 38-year-old, or 40 if you play the remake, as he does his best to finally lose his virginity. Once he finally manages that, he decides that sex isn't the most important, but wants a sexual relation with a woman who he loves and who loves him. Now, the game was Ollamh's idea. See, in 1986, Sierra lost the license to use Disney Works for computer games. So Ollamh suggested that they remake Soft Porn Adventure. The storyline and puzzles were almost identical, but with the added graphic game design. Now, Lowe did not work on this game all by himself. It was co-designed and illustrated by Mark Crow, one of the two guys from Andromeda, and co-programmed by Ken Williams himself. The music was written by Ollamh, being an accomplished jazz musician, having been part of a jazz band, the Lounge Lizards. After finally meeting a lady who seems to have true feelings for Larry, we move on to the next installment, Looking for Love in Several Wrong Places, takes up as the relationship between Larry and Eve is proven to not be so long-lasting. This game is more in line with other Sierra releases as it has a more linear story instead of being as free-flowing and open as the original. It also spanned more than a single city, and though Larry seems to have bad luck in love, his luck is actually quite good in other areas. In fact, Larry wins the lottery, accidentally gets a spot on a dating game and wins a luxury cruise, and foils a plot of the KGB and a mad scientist, Dr. No-Nookie. Having saved the entire island, Larry finds himself being offered a marriage to the daughter of the chief of the island. Now, this game was different than the original in several ways. Besides the change in design and story flow, the humor and sexual escapades were toned down as well. There were also cameos by some other Sierra characters such as Rosella from King's Quest IV. The third game starts off with Larry being overweight and his wife being tired of their marriage. Finding himself suddenly single, he goes off in search of gratification in various forms. Though he never actually manages to finish any lovemaking until he meets the female lead, it doesn't stop him. Finally meeting passionate Patty, he believes he has found the woman of his dreams. But things aren't as simple as that. While drifting off to sleep, Patty utters the name of another man, crushing Larry's feelings and driving him to wander off in despair. At this point, you take control of Patty, a first for this series. She follows Larry and, after various adventures and perils, finds him and manages to actually escape the game entirely. This game introduced the more crass humor that Leisure Suit Larry has become famous for. It also involves an ending similar to the Space Quest series. Larry and Patty wind up in the recording studio of Sierra Entertainment and meet with Roberta Williams. Larry gets a job programming his adventures into games. From here, things become a bit more confused as we skip ahead to Leisure Suit Larry 5. Larry and Patty have split up and gone their separate ways. Why, we never really get an answer for. Larry has become an intern at a television company, while Patty goes back to being a musical performer in nightclubs. They both wind up getting into situations that are outside their normal area of expertise. Larry becomes a hidden camera star, going around the country to seduce 3 different women for a new show. Meanwhile, Patty is recruited by a spy agency to find Mr. Big and expose his crimes. This game was unique in the fact that it continued the ability to play as both Larry and Patty, and in fact switched off between the two from chapter to chapter, kind of in the vein of King's Quest VII. It also introduced the point-and-click interface to this series. After this, the games boil down to a more standard formula, with only playing Larry, trying to get as much action as possible. In the 6th game, he has a vacation at a health resort. The quests and story in the game are a little silly. Each lady that Larry meets has something specific that they want, be it a dress, liposuction, or maybe just a decent pair of handcuffs. With each almost success, he gets an important item that helps him impress the lady at the end of the game. In Larry number 7, again we find Larry single. His girlfriend from the last game decides he is not the guru she thought he was and leaves him. After escaping the burning resort, he wins a cruise. Again, there are a series of quests and ladies to try to seduce. The overall quest is to win the captain's contest and another week cruise, this time staying with the captain in her quarters. This game was the first Larry game to have a much more cartoon-style graphics and gameplay. They added actual Easter games to the game that would expose many of the ladies' breasts. A hide-and-seek style game using Waldo-style dildos, and even a scratch-and-sniff card for true immersion. Now, this is the last of the proper Leisure Suit Larry games. There were 2 games that were released after this, but featuring Larry Lovage, the nephew of the original Larry Laffer. And these games were a spiritual successor. They were vastly different, featuring more arcade-style gameplay rather than actual adventure gaming, and were not as well received. So that is all the time we have to discuss the Leisure Suit Larry series. What do you think about The Lovable Loser? Were these games too adult and crude, or do you think that they fill a hole left by other games? Leave a comment down below and let us know. As always, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more from Ollamh Productions. Cheerio!
Nope. Ah, crap. Yeah! Wow, that's loud in my ears. And I'm dead again. Yeah!
There's a difference between a remake and a reboot. A remake is taking the same characters, same storyline, and doing it in a more modern